All right, welcome. So this video is getting stuck is all in your head. This video is going to cover the idea that getting stuck in life, in success, in growing towards or becoming the best version of yourself, when you get stuck or when you get in a rut during this process, I'm basically trying to explain and trying to make the point that all of the things that you think are blocking you, that you think are in your way from growing and progressing, and why you think you may be stuck at this time, it's actually all a mental game. It's all a mental process that needs to be worked through within the mind, not within more physical actions. And so this is where a lot of people end up getting stuck. They get into a rut because they found this blockage in their mind, and they tried to work through it with the physical actions, and the more they do that, the more resistance they get to the physical actions, right? And so when you take a second to look within, when you take a second to observe the mental blockage that may be stopping you from progressing, now you have the ability to break it and then start to build momentum back up. So one of the main points of this whole concept, of this whole idea, is that basically you are never actually stuck. You are never actually fixated into a specific point in reality, right? Everything is always constantly fluctuating, constantly changing. The feeling that you are stuck comes from your mind, your internal state, or your ego not being willing to change, adapt, and evolve based on the current stressor. And so you feel trapped within that stressor because you can't do anything physically to change it. And the only thing that can allow you to keep moving forward, keep progressing, would be to change within your own mind, change yourself, right? Change your environment, change your mental structure framework, kill an ego that may be blocking you from experiencing life as fully. And you have to basically get yourself to a point where you're still moving, still growing, still progressing in your mind mentally. And then that will reflect externally, right? So you can't force the external actions to get yourself unstuck. You have to get unstuck within your mind first, and then that mental movement will cause you to start to be able to reflect that externally. So before we begin, for those of you who are new to self-improvement or you just want help progressing on the journey, you can join the Academy of Self-Mastery, where I'm going to be teaching you guys all of the tools and tactics that I use to optimize my lifestyle for growth, productivity, and achieving my goals. So if that's something you're interested in, you can go ahead and click the first link in the description. That will give you early access to the program. We are very close to launching. Everything is coming together very nicely. So if you are looking forward to the program, then you can go ahead and join early access. So the first point is why your mind creates unnecessary problems. So the mind is essentially a tool for human beings, a tool for us to optimize our activities and our energy levels so that we can sustain survival over a long period of time, right? So the brain's main focus, the mind's main focus is keeping us alive, right? And one of the main ways that it does this is by preserving energy, conserving energy. Change, adaptation, and evolution require a lot of energy. So the brain is basically trying to religiously refuse and avoid any form of change, any form of growth, any form of adaptation. And this is the problem, right? This is where the problem comes. So the mind does not want to change and evolve. So what it does instead is it creates problems that distract you from the actual work that you're trying to do. So the mind is essentially creating problems to avoid effort and change. But how do we actually overcome this? Because for those of us who want to become successful, who may want to achieve some big goals in life, we need to be able to change, we need to be able to evolve, we need to be able to adapt. So how can we actually go about this process of change? How can we actually overcome the mind's resistance to effort and to change in order to evolve and actually optimize our lifestyles to continuously keep evolving and keep growing? So the most important step is breaking through ego, learning how to pierce and penetrate through ego and dissolve its energy, right? Dissolve its structure. Ego is essentially a psychological framework. It's a psychological identity of who you are. And typically these egos are not always positive, right? Some of them are positive. Some of them, some ego may be prideful. Some ego may be of this belief that you are something great, right? But ego itself is simply just these psychological identifications, these psychological frameworks, these psychological structures that continuously direct the flow of our energy, right? They control the direction and the flow of our energy. So each of these egos, as they're presented to us, need to be broken through in order for us to evolve and grow to becoming our best selves, to becoming the most pure version of us. To become the most pure version of us, we need to remove everything that is not us. And ego is not a part of us. It is something that is using our consciousness, using our energy in order to live and experience within our own psyche. So ego does not have a physical body. It is an entity that does not have a physical body. So it uses your physical body to experience life, right? And so that's what it's doing. It's essentially controlling your energy, your actions, your desires, your feelings, your thoughts, and directing you towards an experience that is ideal for it, not for you. So to get yourself to where you really want to be, you have to be able to and willing to break down these egos and completely kill off and destroy them. And so the way that we do this is with things like meditation, bringing awareness into our body, into our mind, and observing these egos, but then also not allowing ourselves to get caught up into them, right? Not allowing ourselves to begin believing that they are a part of us. And the main step, the main thing is, as you've learned meditation, as you practice meditation, you can learn how to dissolve energies, move energies, and one of the things that you can do with this skill is break down and dissolve ego into raw energy, raw consciousness, right? And so every time an ego is presented to you, your job is to try your best to observe it and then break it down. Now we will discuss developing mastery over your mind in order to create more success in life. Because if we can master our minds, if we can master the thing that is resisting change and evolution and growth and effort, if we can develop mastery over this tool, we can start to experience continual growth, continual development, continual evolution, because we will no longer be getting stuck in our own minds. We will no longer be getting in our own way. And the mind is a very powerful tool. So when you reverse its energy, reverse its efforts from being in a state of chronic energy preservation to chronic effort and putting out effort to achieve a specific goal and a specific end point, you can actually create any real level of success, right? Anybody can create any kind of success. It's just you have to be able to know how to use your mind in such a way that you can actually get there, right? So the main thing is controlling your thoughts and the things that you think about and the things that you put your focus onto. So when you put focus onto the negative, when you put focus onto what you don't have, when you think negatively about negative experiences, challenges, failures, your mind is learning to work against you. And so then when you go to try and achieve any type of success, your mind is actively working against that success. So what we do in order to fix this problem is we actually reverse the thoughts that we have. So instead of having negative thoughts about each failure, each challenge we face, we need to start having positive thoughts. This is going to force me to grow. This is going to force me to adapt. This is going to help me to get to where I want to go because it's a challenge that I'm being forced to overcome. Every time you personally fail, instead of looking at it as I failed, you look at it as what is there that I can improve on. By changing your mentality from one condition to the next, you go from having your mind working against you to working for you and actually optimizing for more success and more growth. And that can be a very powerful tool along this journey because the mind is one of the most powerful tools we have access to. It's just that not a lot of us know how to use it. So the process of keeping momentum going and building it back up once you lose it even is all a mental game, right? The work does not change over time, right? The results change because of consistently keeping up on the work. And so the only thing that actually really needs to be regulated when it comes to achieving success is your mind, is your thoughts and your desires to maybe default or defer off of the initial path, right? So the way that you keep momentum going is by simply keeping the mind focused on the thing you're trying to build momentum in. If you just keep your mind focused on that thing, you will continuously build more and more momentum towards whatever it is you're trying to achieve, whatever goal that you actually have. And when you lose momentum, when you start to get into a rut, when you start to find yourself stuck, the way that you get out of this is just by mentally putting yourself back in a place where you are progressing. So even if you are physically stuck in life, if you're stuck in addictions, you may have lost your girlfriend, you may have lost all of your money to a gambling scheme or some shit. Maybe you put it all into some bullshit crypto coin. Who knows? All of these shitty situations that you find yourself stuck in. Instead of staying mentally stuck in those situations, you start to, even though it sucks in reality, in your mind, you start to look for solutions instead of looking for how bad it is, right? And as you start looking for solutions, you will start to move again physically, right? And as you start to get this movement again, you can continue that until you've built up a decent base of momentum. And then again, continuing momentum is really just a matter of keeping your mind focused and concentrated on the thing you're trying to progress. So that is all I have for this video. For those of you guys who are new on self-improvement and want to join the Academy of Self-Mastery, click that first link in the description. And for any athletes or entrepreneurs who want to progress faster and easier towards their goals, you can go ahead and click the link for my Instagram and send me a quick DM over there. But if you guys enjoyed, leave a like and let me know in the comments anything you may have learned from the video, right? I really like to look at and read the comments and see what you guys are actually gaining and what value you're taking from the video. And if you want to see more content like this, press the subscribe button. But other than that, I'm out of here. Peace.